Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. It is Local Chat, episode 209. I'm your host, Will Crosby. Joining me this week, solo and alone, it's Ian Gibson.
That's right. I'm all by myself.
All by myself. Yep. And that's the show, folks. Thank you for being solo with us. That was so much fun. This is Local Chat. This is a podcast where we talk about video games. We talk about other shit. And we're just going to get into the other shit because I don't care about video games anymore. That's right. I'm political now. No, I'm just kidding. I just auto-faded my camera out.
I did not do that say, are we finally getting political? Because I feel like he's making all the right decisions right now, and nobody's saying that.
I'm just happy RFK made it in, and now we can be a healthy nation.
Could you imagine? This is not political, but could you imagine if you visited the Oval Office and you brought your son and your son just shit talked the president to his face the entire time? That is hilarious. That his 3 or 4 year old son was, you need to be quiet now. You're not the president. It's hilarious.
I saw pictures and then I watched a little bit of the video and I could handle that. And I thought it was insane, and it seems like a movie. But then I turned the volume on and heard audio, and I was like, I can't watch this. This is too
little kid.
cringy. It is so bad.
It was so crazy that I thought people were making jokes about the kid saying that. And then the more I saw it, I was like, oh no, they have video of the kid literally saying that to Trump to his face. And that is hilarious, quite frankly.
It is wild. Also, sorry, not to swerve tangents here, but I installed Windows 11 yesterday onto my computer.
Okay, first of all, why?
I wanted to reinstall Windows because I moved and I was like, oh, I want to reinstall Windows and do a backup and everything just to have a fresh new Windows. Not that it really does much anymore, but it gives me peace of mind. I love reinstalling Windows.
Yeah. Fresh start.
And I was like, I didn't have work this week, so I was like, now's the week to do it because I don't have anything going on. And then I was like, oh, I should upgrade to Windows 11 because it's Windows 11. And then Karen told me I didn't realize they're discontinuing 10 in October this year, or updates for 10, I should say.
They're end-of-lifing support for it.
So I was like, okay, I'll switch to 11. So I have I found a backup for my NAS. For Synology, they have active something backup for business, and actually it works really well. It's one of I've really enjoyed using it because I backed up my entire C drive for some stupid reason. Because now it is on the server as a backup, but it was 500 gigabytes. And I meant to turn off certain folders, but it just chunked up 500 gigabytes on my NAS, and I was like, if I may,
this is just a little quick interjection here. I understand you have a NAS. You did it to the NAS. That's cool. Highly recommend Backblaze. I've had it for about 1.5 years now. I think I paid $60 a year. I have 5.6 terabytes backed up with them right now.
Yeah,
it's just. All my drives are just constantly backed up with them. So if you're serious about backing up for the future, if anybody is, Backblaze.
Yeah, no, I don't do backups. The only time I back up before I reinstall Windows, and then I delete the backup when I'm done with it.
Yeah, I used to do that too, but I've had enough file scares that I was like, let me look up Backblaze because I hear a lot of good things about it. And when I saw the price, I was like, yeah, that's worth it. To have all of it backed up.
If I didn't have a NAS that was already backed up, mirrored and all that, I'd probably think about it. But I don't have a need for it. But I did it through there, and then so I need to clean that up because I only want it to back up certain folders on my C drive because I don't need to back up installs of video games. I don't need to back up certain stuff.
It's probably just your documents, right? Because the last time I did a fresh install of Windows, I was thinking about it. And it was really only certain programs that have certain user local file config settings that get saved. But a majority of it is, it's not that it's cloud based, but a majority of it is just saving your settings or whatever to the
Yeah.
cloud, or it's pulling from the cloud. Like Steam, for example, it's just going to do your cloud saves.
Yeah. The two most important folders I found in my time reinstalling Windows is your documents folder. I back up my downloads folder because sometimes I keep stuff in my downloads folder, and then and my desktop, because I usually have random shit on my desktop that I like to back up. But the most important folder that you can back up is your app data folder.
Porn folder. Oh, sorry. Yeah, app data.
And your porn folder, app data, and that is the majority of the folder I'm using to do stuff with, because I'll install like OBS. I'll install OBS, and OBS saves everything to the app data folder. And the best part about the way the backup software works is like I can access the entire drive inside of the Synology portal, and I just go into app data, go into roaming, and then click on the OBS folder there and just hit restore, and it just installs that back on my drive.
Push it down.
Like right exactly where it's supposed to be. So that's the best feature of that, is I can be like, okay, I installed this. Oh shit, I need all my preferences. So I did that with OBS. As soon as I open OBS, it's like I didn't reinstall Windows. It's perfectly working. Everything's together. Yeah. Same with Voicemeeter. Same with my FooBar install. Like all that stuff that has saved settings is the best part. So I did all that, and now I'm on Windows 11 proper. I really don't like. There's nothing crazy new about it, but there's also like it just, other than the bar being in the middle instead of to one side, it feels pretty similar to Windows 10.
You didn't move it immediately to the left?
There's a bunch of stuff down there I want to get rid of, and I haven't. I was like, I'm going to deal with this later once I have important things figured out. Because I was like, I need to figure out what the like registry key to get rid of the widgets thing is. Because there's some nightmare, and I have to reset up all of my Explorer like quick access and everything. But other than that stuff, it's been a pretty breezy putting everything together. The one thing I have totally did not get backed up, and I don't know why, is my save game profile for Warcraft 3 that I was playing through over the summer just doesn't exist anymore. The entire file structure is there. It's the entire file. No, it wouldn't. Yeah, I did the non-Blizzard version. So the entire folder path to the save game is there, but the save game itself isn't there.
That's weird.
And that is the only thing I lost. And then other than that, it's been pretty breezy, but the one thing I can't figure out is I keep getting notification sounds, and
like I'm hearing,
have no idea what is doing them.
Is that a notification sound? It sounds like a USB connect and disconnect sound.
Okay, so
to me,
that is the other thing. So I've been getting a notification sound, and I've been getting that disconnect and reconnect sound. Now on my Windows 10, I turned off all like those sounds, the like computer level sounds. So I never knew it was maybe doing this on my old install. So now it's doing it on this install, and I was like, okay, hey, I want to know why it's playing this. And so I Googled, like, is there a way to have Windows log when it's playing certain files? And someone's like, download this Microsoft Process Viewer, put in a filter that filters out everything except for things ending in .wav to find the WAV file. And I was like, perfect. And I set that all up. The sound happened several times and then didn't show up there. It logged like the administrator yes or no thing. It logged all of those sounds except for the USB one, because I just want to know what program is doing it, so I know what USB somewhere in this configuration.
Well, for the USB, I would probably just go to Device Manager and just sit there on that USB tab and see if something disconnects and connects.
Yeah, that's the other thing. So I only discovered this today, and I haven't had a chance to just like sit down and do that because it was only when I reinstalled it. But it's been driving me insane. I thought I figured it out. And the other reason for a while I didn't know it was the USB unplug and replug, because it's different on this one. And also I didn't have it on in the old one. For a while I thought I had turned notifications on Reddit on the website, but I wasn't getting notifications on Reddit. Like, who gets notifications on Reddit? So I was like, I don't think it's that, but I at least turned off that they're allowed to send me sounds. So yeah, that's my whole day. Windows 11 running great. Programs are running great.
I feel like Windows 11 kind of broke the alternating curse where, for a while it was like, good Windows, bad Windows. You go XP great to Vista bad to 7 great to 8 bad to 10's great, and 11 honestly it feels great as well. It feels like it's really built off of 10. They've added a little bit to it. I don't know if you've used it. I think I've shown it to you before, but 11 has that if you drag a window up to the top of the screen, it has a little drop down that automatically shows you, like, if you want to put it in the corner, you want to put it in a column or half screen. Like, it's super easy to use that. I use that literally I just used it to arrange my windows for local chat. So yeah, it really feels like 11 has bucked the trend and is another really good Windows release.
Yeah, I've been using that feature because on Windows 10 it only had the snap in halves and halves.
Yeah,
and I would use that all the time.
And quarters, yeah.
But this one just seems much more responsive and more well put together. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. Yeah. I'm on Windows 10 now. I installed it
11.
I'm on Windows 11 now. I installed it and it was like, hey, you need to activate Windows 11 Pro. And I was like, oh, okay, like I'll go buy a key. I did not buy a key from Microsoft for $139, but I did. I went to, I forget, it was like SFT keys or something, reseller. And I bought 2 Windows 11 Pro keys for $25, I think, each. And I was like, nice. Okay, I have one for Karen's computer, one for my computer. They're not OEM or anything. And I'm like, perfect. So I go to my computer and I go to activate Windows 11, and it just says I have activated Windows 11. So I guess at some point I must have upgraded my key, my Windows 10 key, and not have realized it.
Maybe.
Because didn't they do a Windows 11 free thing?
They did. Yeah, but I thought it was done now.
No, but you could register even if you weren't installing Windows 11.
Oh, even if you weren't going to do. Yeah. Oh, see, I wasn't aware of that. I thought you had to upgrade in that time period.
Distinctly remember something like that. So I must have done that. So now I need to double check Karen's computer when I reinstall.
Yeah, maybe you did that on at least one machine and that tied it to your Microsoft account.
I could see that happening. But yeah, I was just like, because it was doing the stuff where it's like, hey, you can't change the background, you can't personalize, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it let me have it. So yeah, that's my Windows 11 update. My NAS is running great. My new server, my Unraid server is running pretty well. I had I have the AMP Minecraft server running up on that again. I have a Plex server and a Dock container ready to go. There were like 1 or 2 things. It's working, but I need to figure out how to transfer my configuration file from the Windows install into the Docker container, the like config file.
Yeah, the jail.
Yeah, and there's a way to do that, and I just don't. It's not hard or anything. I just don't know anything about programming or accessing file systems, so I just don't know how to do it. So that's the only thing I need to do. So it like knows all the shows and stuff I've watched. But
are you liking Unraid? Because I've never used Unraid in particular.
Yeah, it's really great. It's got a great interface. It's user friendly. They've had the whole like, hey, here's all your plugins for Unraid. Here's all your Docker containers you can download too. It's like community plugins and stuff like that, and it runs really well. And as someone who wants to be more versed in that stuff, it was very helpful. There's a lot of tutorials online on YouTube of like going through all that shit. So it was fun. There were some like really stressful moments, but it was just like, it was reading Reddit questions asked by people who didn't understand as much as me, but weren't applying the amount of like whoa, hey there, Raw. Weren't applying like the understanding to what the people were saying. Yeah. They just like wanted people to do it for them. And I was like reading through it, and like when people link documentation, like actually reading the documentation to like figure out, okay, how do I mount my Synology NAS to the Unraid? Like, what is the file system? And so getting that done was great. My next hurdle is figuring out certificates and how they work. Because
what do you need certificates for?
There's like some certificate stuff for like handshaking between my PC and the NAS, and it's not something I really need, but it's just good security practice. And like I have everything set up, and I just can't figure out why it's not handshaking. So that's the next little learning point. But yeah, it's been fun. I'm afraid I'm dipping my toes into the server world, and I'm gonna come up wet. As wet as possible. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's nice. my Windows 11. That's the tech update this week, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. That's it. How's your week going, Ian?
It's going. Didn't do much this past weekend. Did watch the Super Bowl. Yeah. So
yeah.
I know you're not a sports man. But I was kind of surprised. You posted that you were like, it was like you were surprised at yourself. You were like, hey, I watched the whole Super Bowl this year and had fun.
I was genuinely surprised. Most years, like Karen and I make football snacks and stuff, and then we sit down and we watch until we're done with our snacks, and then we just do other stuff. Like that is basically it. And the only reason this year we were watching it and we're like, okay, that's neat, and then I was eating our snacks, and then the halftime show happened, and that was cool, and it was like, okay, this is neat. That's a cool show, but Philadelphia's swamping.
The music's not for you. Yeah, you wish it was somebody else. Yeah.
Yeah, I made that joke with Jake this week about his Truth Social posts I saw. Yeah, I did re-explain there because I felt like I didn't want to over-explain it in Discord, but I felt like I came across the wrong way. I was just like, but then every white guy was being like, well, the music's not for me, but the show was really neat. And I was just like, I meant it in the way of like, the only new musician I listened to last year was Chappell Roan. And I'm like, I just don't listen to modern music. Not like, no, I don't like that rap music.
Yeah. And it's kind of the same for me. And I'm not a big Kendrick Lamar fan. I've got nothing against him. It's just his rap style is not for me. There's some rap music I do listen to. Shout out to Doichi, by the way, who just won Best Rap Album. And I was like, on a whim, I was like, oh, let me listen to this. It turns out it's like a banger fucking album. But it's like there's different styles of rap. So his style of rap is not for me. But holy shit, that was an incredible halftime show. Like it's one of my favorites. It may be my favorite of all time. Mm-hmm. But I remember Prince being pretty good. There's some that I remember being pretty good, but that blew me away front to back. Like the amount of like symbolism and tone and theme and message in a halftime show was just like, it's one of those moments where you're like, wow, like I didn't know somebody could make a show with that much message and have the balls to do it on the Super Bowl stage. Like that was incredible. Very good show.
Yeah, it was really, really well done. And I read through like someone on Reddit, anytime like people asked about it, they would like send this post. I think it was an Imager post, but it's basically like, hey, here's some of like the overarching things of his halftime show. Here's like what certain things mean if you don't know anything about the drama and like all that sort of stuff. And like that was cool to read through and be like, oh, okay, I see why this and that. And also being like, I couldn't hear half the things he was saying, because the audio quality mix was bad, but also he's speaking like 10 words a second, and you're just like, oh, okay. But it was cool. So that happened.
Even when like Samuel L. Jackson comes out and he's just like, no, that's too ghetto. -1 life, and it's just like, oh fuck, what? You know, and it honestly, it reminds me a little bit of 1,000 Times Resist, because it's very rare to have a piece of medium where you're like, there are layers and layers here, right? Like I can interpret it in so many different ways and come at analyzing this in different ways. And I saw a TikTok today of somebody who was going through like the meaning of the songs and talking about like, hey, that last song is like turn the TV off. And he's talking about like literally the dancers are marching in the fake street, and his message, this guy's conjecture was that his message was turn the TV off. It's time to march in the streets. This is the revolution that he mentioned at the beginning. And I'm like, whoa, like just an incredible layered show. So much nuance to it. It was fantastic.
You've been in the street all week waiting for everyone to go out.
Yeah.
Yeah. so yeah, so that happened, and then I was like, okay, so I'll do something else. And then we were doing something else, or like watching YouTube, and Karen was just like, she was like, oh, Eagles scored another touchdown, and she's like, do you want to watch the game again? And I was like, yeah, okay. Yeah. So we turned it back on, and it was just wild.
It's a good game. It's a good game. Yeah.
What happened? So
that's like, I've told you this before. I don't watch any football. Part of it is because there's just too much of it. And even if I wanted to follow just one team, that's like every Sunday. And honestly, the biggest hurdle is trying to legally watch football is an absolute nightmare, because some games are on Netflix, some games are on Amazon Prime, some games require you to get, your local TV station, some games require you to get NFL Network. Like I remember somebody looking it up, and they were like, if you want to watch every NFL game this season, it's like I think it was like $2,000 you had to spend in subscription fees to get access to all of it. So it's kind of a nightmare, but I do like the idea of like, I watch the Super Bowl, I sit down, I watch it all the way through, because that's one of the things that American football has over a lot of sports, which is that it is very entertaining, and it is much easier for that sport to be entertaining. Even if it's a mediocre game, you're still watching guys make throws, do runs, make tackles, get touchdowns. Whereas something like, soccer or like traditional football, quite frankly, is a pretty boring sport. It is. It's only on like 5 scores a game, and there's a couple breakaways, and that's it. And you're there for 90 minutes. Versus American football is just like constant high intensity. So it's like, that's what I like about the Super Bowl is I don't have to pay attention at all. I get a little bit of the background drama, and then once a year I show up and have like a really good 4 or 5 hours between that and the food and the family and the commercials and the halftime show. That's what's cool about the Super Bowl. It's basically like an American holiday in a way, which is fun.
Yeah, I always love the food portion of it. I made a fantastic fucking buffalo dip. It was so good. We ate a quarter of it, and then the next day for dinner had another quarter of it, and then we froze the other half of it for like board game night or something. It was so good. It was Poor Choices Kitchen on YouTube. He's I can't remember his name, but he was on Funhouse stuff towards the end of their run, and he's really great. So that was super delicious.
What is a buffalo dip? Because I'm familiar with buffalo sauce, which is basically just like a type of hot sauce. But what is buffalo dip?
So it is basically, I think the most simplest version of it is like cream cheese, buffalo sauce, chicken, and all mixed together.
Gotcha.
And then melted cheese on top of that, or mixed in with it.
Okay.
So it's that times 10 is kind of what I did. Mine also has like some mayo in it, ranch dressing, blue cheese dressing, blue cheese crumbles, breadcrumbs on top, and then it had habanero, pepper jack mixed in with it and everything. So
nice.
It was fantastic. Really, we did that, and then finally, since we moved, we opened up the air fryer we got for Christmas, and we've been air frying. Karen's just been buying, like, because we've never been able to use an air fryer. She's just getting like, oh, this is an air fryer frozen meal or this sort of thing, or frozen meal, but like appetizer or something. So we'll try those during the week. She found these really good cheeseburger empanadas that were like. Ooh. It's the nice thing, because if it's still like, if I made it in the oven, you'd be like, this isn't that great. Like the texture's bad and it tastes bad.
It's dry.
But the air fryer, it's like, okay, the texture's good, everything's well cooked about it. It may just not taste that great, or it might be the other way around, but it's not both things are wrong with it. So you're like, okay,
exactly.
This is a superior way to heat up food. So
yeah, especially for, 2 people. When you don't have to heat up the whole oven, you don't need a big portion. Like the salmon I made tonight, I was just like, boom, like 10 minutes in the air fryer and it's good to go. And then I do put it under the broiler for like 90 seconds just to crisp up the top a little bit, but it's better and easier than in the pan or the oven, etc.
Yeah, it's fun. It fries the air, guys. That's so cool.
It's phenomenal.
Okay, quick update here. I have found a Event Ghost. It tracks USB plugins and unplugs. So I'll install that after the stream and get to the bottom
see what happens.
of what it is. I'm assuming it's something on the backside. Maybe it's like the Xbox adapter. I don't know. I don't know what it could be back there.
But,
I did. Speaking of USB hubs, I thoroughly lack USB ports on my computer, so I bought a sweet powered USB hub from Anker. From Sabrent, who also make the video adapter that I'm using. But the best thing about it is it's external powered, and then you power each port. So I can just have a bunch of stuff plugged in and turned off. So then all I have to do is click the little button to turn the port on. So it's not like I'm having to run everything all the time. So I'm going to install that somewhere on my desk so it's reachable and figure all that out. Yeah, we're like 5% left to move everything over to the new apartment. And then I'm just like rearranging everything. I've got the workshop going together behind me. I've got the desk coming together. And figuring things out. I'm trying to decide, do I want my PC down by my feet, or do I want to move it back up on the desk again?
Feetsies.
Yeah, I think feetsies.
I don't understand people put it on the desk. It's like, it's taking up so much fucking space. And especially if you have RGB that's now in your peripheral vision the entire time.
Yeah. I think what I might do, which is a cool thing, I'm going to have to shift the middle of my desk over, because since it is underneath, I like crash into it a little too much. But I have the two Alex drawers underneath my countertop. So if I move one of those over a little bit more and put the computer on the other side and have it over there and working cool. So we'll see if that'll happen.
And then worst case, you just got to run, because I did something similar. In worst case, I just had to buy like one or two like display port extension cables off Amazon to reach the monitors. But it's nice having it on the floor.
Yeah, and I tacked up the Ethernet most of the way up here. It runs into my cool server closet I have now. That I can do all my fun server needs, and then just run the Ethernet out of there to all my devices. I got the CRT set up. I watched some Ghost in the Shell on VHS today. We're getting to it. The spray booth's almost set up. I've got to get the new compressor built out and all that stuff. It's coming together, and I'm excited.
Awesome.
For more streams out of here. That is it for the chit chat section. Man, that was the 24.5-minute chit chat section. I thoroughly apologize. I'll make sure to cut that down in post. Video games, Ian. Do you like video games?
I do. I've only been playing one because I've been a little bit busy.
Hey, you gotta quiet that thing down.
I know. Shh, pussy. Shh. Because I actually had to travel to Baltimore this week, like a 3-day, 2-night business trip, and I was like, okay, let me take you through the full gamut. I was like, oh, should I bring my Switch? And then I was like, nah, it's a bit too big. And then I was like, oh, should I bring my little handheld? And I was like, no, maybe not. And then I was like, oh, Civ 7's coming out, and I was like, should I just buy a Steam Deck and bring that? And then I was like, no. And then I was like, what if I install Steam Link on my work computer so I can remote into it? And then I was like, hey, what if I just don't play any games on my trip? and it was fine. Like, I got some reading done. I downloaded some movies and TV off my Plex on my phone, so I watched that. And the days were pretty packed anyway, so it's not like I had a lot of time to just, hang out and play video games. So it was nice. I kind of an unintentional detox a little bit. But Civ 7 did come out on Tuesday, 2 days ago. I wasn't able to play it until this morning. And I've played, I don't know, maybe 2 hours of it total so far. So Will, we talked about Civ 7. Was it last week's local chat, or was it a previous Tuesday? But anyways, we talked about how the reviews were mixed, and you talked about how some of the problems with it, like the UI, etc. And you're totally right. The UI, I wouldn't call the UI a mess. It just feels like a step backwards. And I think what happened is this game is launching on the Nintendo Switch. And it's pretty clear that they made the UI at the scale and simplicity for the Nintendo Switch screen, which is what, 1280 by 720. So like I'm playing on a 32-inch 4K. And by default, I haven't checked yet if there's settings, but by default, that UI is huge on my screen. You know, like when I get like the turn counter is like the lower right hand corner of my screen, like it's huge and all this stuff. And then it also feels like, I mean, I had the same problem with Civ 5 and Civ 6 where it's like getting to like my policy menu, you know, like there's like you always have like the icon for your science, right, that you can always click on, but getting to some of these other ones, I'm not sure how to get there. And so it's a weird where it feels like they made a big UI, but they also simplified it a little bit too much to the extent where it's hard to get to secondary menus. And some of the stuff that they are showing all the time, like your opponents are a ribbon in the top right of your screen. So you have each opponent has their face and then like their country sign as a ribbon, almost like, you know, like a blue ribbon prize kind of thing on the upper right. So I've met 3 of them so far. So I just have these 3 ribbons in the top of my screen. That's just the enemy's face and their country, but it's not actually showing me much. I think if I leave it alone, it'll show me if they're happy with me or if they're mad with me, and that's it. And it's not until I like hover over it that it gets me a little bit more information. And if I click into it, it gets me more information. But it is a weird thing where it's like, you made a big UI, you hit some stuff, but one of the things you really wanted to show was the faces of my opponents at all times. And it's like, why? You know, it's weird. So yeah, it definitely feels like I think they had to make some sacrifices for the Switch. And if you remember the Civ 5 and the Civ 6 UI, it's not like those were incredible. You know, they were serviceable, and I feel like they took some steps. I feel like it's that same competency, or in some cases lack of competency with UI design, that put on top of that a need to be on Switch day one, and it does feel like a backward step compared to Civ 6. So that's a little frustrating. The game so far, it's a little hard for me to tell so far because, again, I'm only like an hour and a half in, but some of the big changes, we've talked about ages. So basically the entire game is split up into 3 ages, and they give you like a percentage of how far you are through each age. I'm getting close to the end of the first stage. I'm about 75% of the way there. And this crisis thing has started, which I don't think is because I'm doing a bad job. I think it's just at the end of every age, there's like this crisis period where there's like negative things that will happen to you. And there's like forced changes that are happening, which is kind of cool because that historically makes sense. You know, going from one age of history to another for a country is not necessarily peaceful transition. There's going to be a period of turmoil, and they're trying to represent that, which is kind of cool. But I'm still not fully clear on all the mechanics that are happening there. They've added armies, which are stackable units, but and you have like a commander. So like you bring a commander in, and then all the units around him, he's like, join my army. And I think it just makes easier for that army to travel together and go through choke points like a mountain pass, because they're just stacked on top of each other. But from what I can tell, I don't really think they fight as a stacked unit. If anything, it feels like it's a disadvantage because I had an army of like 5 guys and they got attacked by one enemy, and the enemy like took out 75% of my commander's health. And I was like, what? Like, it doesn't feel like an actual stacked unit. It just feels like a transportation thing, which is fine. I just don't think that was super clear to me. But I've been doing that a little bit. They've also changed how you conquer cities and settlements. Like I had this settlement that it took a while, but I reduced it down to 0, but I could not put my unit in the settlement in the enemy city. And I think what was happening, but I wasn't certain, was that you can also have like fortified districts in the same location as your city. So one of the tiles will be fortified, and the enemy, which in this case was me, I would have had to destroy that fortified district and then be able to take the city. But it wasn't super clear to me what the fortified district was. So the whole time I was just fighting the city, got it all the way down to 0, but my units couldn't go into it. And so I don't think they're doing a good job of onboarding this stuff. There's a whole lot of pop-ups, but they're just kind of pop-ups with paragraphs in them. And it's not great. I kind of wish there was actually like a guided tutorial. Honestly, if they chunked up if they did a guided tutorial and it was in a bunch of different sections where they were like, hey, here's 5 turns that we're going to walk you through. You have friendly units next to an enemy city. You know, hey, first you need to destroy the district. Click this unit, then click this district. Okay, now it's destroyed. Now, like if they had these little bite-sized tutorials, that would be fantastic for all of this, because I think they've transferred everything over from Civ 6, which, if you remember, added climate stuff in the DLC. It added the religion. Like there's all sorts of stuff in here. I mean, some of it's tweaked and different, but there's still a lot in here. And it's a little overwhelming. I think I'll get used to it eventually, but I wish they did a better job of kind of telling you what had changed and teaching you how to deal with it. There are some other complaints that people have had, and I noticed it as well, which is that you can't pick custom maps. And I don't think you can, like, remember in Civ 6 and Civ 5 where you'd be like, I'm going to start a game, and you could be like, I want a map type like this. And there's like 5 or 6 different options, you know, islands, giant continent, Pangea, whatever. And then you could be like, oh, I want to go against this leader. I want there to be 4 leaders, 5 leaders. I think a lot of those options are not available at launch. Yeah. And the other thing I believe is not available is quick movement and quick combat either. So this feels like a very, very good early access launch for Civ 7. Unfortunately, it is not early access launch. It's their 1.0 launch. And it feels different from, we've talked about this before, where like a new Civ game comes out, it doesn't have all the content of the previous game and all the DLC, so it feels like it's bare bones.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's what's happening here, because honestly, this does have a lot of the mechanics. Like I said, it takes like the climate change mechanic from that, what is it, Civ 6 Beyond the Storm or Gathering Storm DLC. And it has that. It feels like they just haven't put in the actual customization. They forgot to put in some settings, and they, you know, kind of pared back the UI in a bad way. So it's one of those things where it's like Civ 7's not that good to play right now, not because there's things missing, but because they clearly need to polish it and put some more effort into it. But that being said, I'm still gonna play through this. I'm a little bit torn because some of the new stuff, none of the new stuff is grabbing me. Like I do like not having to juggle workers anymore, but none of the new stuff is like, wow, that's really cool. I'm so excited to interact with that. And the rest of it just feels the same. So it's like, part of me is like, hey, what if I just went back to Civ 6 and like loaded up a bunch of mods, and like I like to play real world maps, you know, like what if I did that instead? So I'm going to keep playing it. I'll be streaming it 9 a.m. Eastern time on Saturday as well. It is a little disappointing though. And a lot of people were saying it was going to be disappointing, but what's interesting to me is that it's not disappointing in that way. There is a lot of mechanics and stuff in here. It just feels like they haven't actually built the rest of the game around it yet. So I don't know. We'll see. This really does not feel like a sequel, honestly.
That sucks. All this Civ talk though does make me want to go play some. Civ 5 is like my favorite Civ. I tried 6 a bunch and I just couldn't get into it. But I think like this makes me want to go install some Civ 5 and play out. Oh, man, that used to suck up Saturdays.
And it's got Steam Workshop support, and people are doing great things out there. So you can get all sorts of custom civs, custom maps, things like that. Custom UI elements too. Ooh. It's cool.
I'll wait for I'll wait for the article where it's like, now's the time to play Civ 7. You know, when that comes out.
2-3 years,
like, yeah. So I'll wait for that, and then I'll get Civ 7 off of. Like,
I gotta be honest with you though. In order for that to come around, they would have to like completely change the UI, and this is a Switch game, so I don't know that there's ever going to be that time, Will. That's what really depresses me about this. Like, this is not just missing content. This is like they've got some stuff in here that's not working, and they'd have to really rework it.
But they could come out with like a Civ 7 Enhanced Edition. That's a different version of the game.
Yeah, but they'd have to have the balls to go with a completely different PC UI versus Switch UI, and
you never know.
I don't know. We'll see.
Could happen. It's happened before. Speaking of happening before, I been playing some Resident Evil 4 remake. I said now's the time. The time is now. I'm finally going to play Resident Evil 4 Remake.
Is that question?
Yes, answer.
Is that my copy?
Daily Double. No, it is not.
Oh, okay.
I
just couldn't remember if I'd lent you that copy.
No, I have it digitally. I own it. I also own it on
Okay.
PC, but I'm playing on Xbox. And that's going great. The one downside currently is that our living room has Windows, not Windows 11, but so the windows are behind the TV, and during the day really reflect into the TV.
I'm sorry, Will. I have breaking news. I have breaking fucking news. A new Retroid Pocket has been announced. I'm going to take this image and I'm going to send this to you in the community Discord, and let's get that reaction live. Okay, you ready?
What's a Retroid Pocket?
Take a look at that and tell me how you feel.
Ugh.
It's weird. It's basically a Game Boy SP with 2 analog sticks and widescreen. So almost kind of like a 3DS, but just with the top screen.
That's so weird.
I mean, but it's square. It's not rounded like my Pocket Flip is. So
I don't know. That's a
yeah. I don't know. I mean, if it's not running Android, I'd be happy about it.
I'm waiting for the next one from Retro Game Core where he's like, this is the one to get. Like,
that's the Trim UI. The Trim UI brick right now is the shit.
I thought about getting the Trim UI, but I still like my Mio. I haven't played it in a bit. I haven't played any video games that much. But
yeah, that's the thing is, I think we got great devices, but the problem is the new devices are not significantly different enough to justify getting them. Slight tangent, but you know what? Fuck it. It's a solo Bolo Trello episode of local chat. I didn't realize how big tablet gaming is. Were you aware of this?
Like a Stone tablet?
No, like I have an Android tablet or an iPad, and I use it for gaming, like Call of Duty Mobile and Genshin Impact.
That's disgusting.
It is disgusting, but it's huge, and I'll tell you why. Because I have a Fire HD 10 tablet, like the 2019 model, and the reason why I bring that up is it has 2 gigs of RAM, and that's just not enough anymore. That tablet is slow as shit, and it's because every single app is in the background taking up like 250 megabytes all the time. It's fucking disgusting. I had to install an app called Kill All Apps, that whenever the tablet gets slow, which is pretty frequent, I have to launch that app and just have it kill all the background apps just to give me just enough power to open up the app that I actually want to use, which is either Pocket Cast or like YouTube or F1 TV, to then use that app. Like I can basically only run one app at a time. Part of it's because the tablet is 2 gigabytes, but the other part of it is just like fucking app bloat is out the ass right now. It's crazy. But anyways, I was like, I need a new tablet because this tablet, it's almost useless, right? Like I've been trying, there's a PDF book I've been reading, so I'm trying to read that off the tablet, and it's dirt fucking slow and like all this shit. Anyways, I was like, okay, let me get a tablet. And so I was researching tablets for a while. And first of all, I don't know if you're aware of this, Will, but it turns out like Chinese Android tablets are cheap as shit, and they're actually pretty fucking good.
That makes sense.
Yeah, like the tablet I ended up buying, it's not here yet. It has 8 gigs of RAM. It's got 128 gigabytes of storage. It's an 11-inch screen, 1920 by 1200, and it's got an SD card. And I got it off Amazon for $150, and it has an aluminum body. I know, right? And I'm looking at Samsung tablets, and they're like $350 for like 4 gigabytes of RAM and shit, and no SD card slot. And it's like, what the fuck are we doing around here? So anyways, the reason why I bring it up is to go back to the gaming. I was going to like Android tablets, the subreddit, and reading a bunch of stuff, and every single review was like, how is this for gaming? How is this for gaming? And a majority of the posts on Android tablets were like, hey, I'm going to use this for browsing, streaming, and I like to play Genshin. I like to play Call of Duty Mobile. It's for gaming. Like we talk about mobile gaming a little bit and how big that market is, but okay, first of all, gaming on your phone is disgusting. But some of the games make sense, right? Some of the games fit that screen, like Balatro and things like that. But I think we forget how big and how popular tablet gaming is. Genshin Impact, Hot Guy Star Rail, PUBG Mobile, Call of Duty Mobile. That's just a big market that we just completely ignore because we're superior to it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, in every single way. I mean, I almost and this isn't, all jokes aside, of being superior. Like, I feel like that distinction really does have to happen, because there was always that conversation of like, if you identify as a gamer, and I feel like most people who play iPad and mobile games wouldn't identify as a gamer
now they will. But I think that's the difference, though.
I would say, see, my view on it is I feel like people wouldn't as much anymore. I feel like it's been long enough that gamer means like the person who's sitting on their couch playing on the Xbox, versus like I play iPad games or phone games, mobile games.
Because it was one of those things where it's like people would play Candy Crush, right? It used to be mobile gaming as Candy Crush and Angry Birds, right? Those people weren't gamers, right? They were just casual gamers who didn't understand microtransactions, so they were, spending money on and boosting that industry up. Like that was what we believed. I think there's still a portion of the market, but I think what I'm seeing in all these tablet reviews is there are gamers, there are capital G gamers, and 99% of the time they're playing on a tablet. And it's not casual shit anymore. They take PUBG Mobile seriously. They take Genshin seriously. They take COD Mobile seriously. They take all those weird racing games. And like, that's their number one concern when they're buying a tablet is like, hey, is this going to be fast enough for gaming? Like, is this chipset good enough? Like, how much RAM do I need? And it's like wild to see that be a big concern for a vast majority of like the tablet buying market. It's wild.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Then if that's true, that I feel like there needs to be some sort of naming system to differentiate.
Yeah.
It's almost like how you differentiate a cinephile versus like a movie lover. Like there's a person who watches a lot of movies, and then there's a person who knows a lot about movies and filmmaking and art. Like it's one of those same things point. That is also split.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I think the only counterpoint is I think Genshin Impact and Call of Duty Mobile, these games that are full-blown games, very similar to their console PC counterpart, just in mobile form, and in some cases the exact same game, you're just accessing it in a different way, it is really blurring that distinction.
It's like
but they are still disgusting. They're still disgusting, to be clear, and we are superior.
I hate to quote a man whose book I hate with a fiery passion.
Careful.
But Hitler, no, but is it John Green? I think it was a John Green video, but he was saying people always bring up the argument of whether listening to audiobooks is reading, and he was like, it's not reading as the concept of like having information interpreted to you in a way and like gathering that information. Like, yes, it is reading, but is listening to an audiobook the same as reading a book? No, that is not the same. But if you wanted to find the act of reading, of like obtaining knowledge through a sense, then reading with your eyes, reading a book, and listening to a book is the same as reading. But if you're trying to be like, I read 12 books this year, I listened to 12 books, those are the same thing. I think most people would say like, no, that's not. Reading a book, you have to sit down and dedicate your time to it and all this sort of stuff, versus and that is also the split of like, people learn in different ways. Some people are visual, so like to gatekeep that is wrong, but to make a proper connection of what you actually mean, it like comes together. So I feel like there's going to be something that happens with that, and you can be like, okay, so those iPad people, they get deported, but the real gamers get to stay and work the milkers. Anyways, Resident Evil 4 remake.
Yeah, how's Darkest Dungeon?
Resident Evil 4 remake's great. It looks fantastic, and I can only play it at night until we get our big blackout curtain. So that is the unfortunate part there. Darkest Dungeon's going well. Jake and I did our last official episode on Tuesday. On a Tuesday, we played through it. We survived. I think the only person we lost was JD Pants, which I was very sad about. But Kamala's doing great. She's a fantastic healer. Crazy Kamala. And I'm officially playing that game on my own. I played it while watching TV last night on the Steam Deck. And then I played it for a little bit today on my computer.
Do you feel like you're getting any better?
Yes, I'm much better at that game. 1,000%. Realistically, I'm like 500% better at that game.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm having fun and surviving and having a great time. I also continue playing more Tiny Kingdom. I talked about it a little bit briefly last week. It's very fun. I had a huge run where I got like 500 population on my little island, and that was really cool. And then you lose that entire island, you got to start back at the beginning, and I said, I'm going to play this a different day. I can't remember if it launched into early access or this is the full release. I really like Tiny Kingdom. I really like it the way it works. You're drawing cards, you're playing the cards. Each card you're placing in conjunction with other cards can get you more cards or more money to buy more cards. The problem is when you finish a run, you're just all the way back to zero. And some of those runs are like couple hours long, 4 or 5 hours long, you can get into. So it kind of sucks when you're reset all the way back. So I would love to see like a system in that game where it's like you can like skip and like once you unlock the next like age of your city, so you go from like village to cottages to townhouses to stone manors and all that sort of stuff, you could be like, oh, start me at this age, and then you have a bunch of cards to play or something like that. But it's a very fun time waster, and I recommend it. Tiny Kingdom. And finally, a game about digging a hole came out last week. This was, I first heard about it, I think it was on the Planorama for Nextlander. They talked about it, and then they talked about it briefly on their podcast this week. So I downloaded it, and this is literally a game about digging a hole. You bought a house, and there's a backyard, and you were digging down the backyard to find a hidden treasure. Cool. You are upgrading your shovel. You are, if your shovel runs out of battery, it explodes and you die. You are collecting ore to sell, and you sell that for money to upgrade your shovel, the battery, your inventory, and your
battery?
Something else. Yeah, it's a charged shovel that goes like this.
Oh, okay,
so,
gotcha.
It's neat. It's fun. It's $5 on Steam. I beat it in 2.5 hours. Is it worth $5? Sure. It was a solid game for $5, and I had a fun time playing it. And the what's at the bottom of your hole was a funny time, and it was overall cool physicsy game that if it was more money I would complain about it, and it's not more money, so I'm not going to complain about it. It was fun and cool, and I recommend it if you want to check out a game about digging a hole. It is that. Cool. That is it. That is the games. We have played all the video games, folks. Get excited. Okay, that means it's time for the news, which means I get to play the news theme, which is the name of this. Oh, you can't hear that, can you?
I can.
Talk about no, you can. Video games. Okay. Sorry, I had muted it so the Windows noises didn't keep going on the tape. Ian, please tell me the news as fast as you can.
Did you watch the PlayStation State of Play this week?
No, I did not.
Wow. I watched it because it was actually perfect timing. It started at 5 p.m. Eastern time. I had to board my flight at like 5:45 Eastern time, so that like 45 minutes before I got on the plane, I just sat there watching it on airport internet, which thankfully held up. So this was a state of play. A couple things. This is not in order, but it is in order from this IGN article. Saros is Housemarque's next game after Returnal. It's got a lot of Returnal vibes. It's starring Rahul Kohli. It seems very, very similar to Returnal. They did not show any gameplay. They showed a cinematic, but it kind of teased a third person shooter action shoot 'em up bullet dodger type of game. Looks pretty cool. We also got
Nice.
Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater release date, August 28th, 2025. This looked pretty good to me, but I've never played the original. How did this look to you?
When I watch it, I will.
Oh, you apps.
I literally
It looks good.
didn't even know this.
I'm
happened.
excited. I'm excited to play this. I've always heard really good things about Metal Gear Solid 3. It's always been a little difficult to play if you didn't just flat out play it on the PS2. And
PS3.
I'm excited for this. It looks like it'll be pretty good.
PS2.
PS2,
you know,
you piece of
yeah,
shit.
no. I'm saying PS3 because the only way to play it now is that PS. You have my PS3 collection.
Well, you could do that, but you can also play it on the DS or 3DS.
Actually,
There
is
is
it
that
on the
weird
Xbox?
version.
Do I have it on Xbox? I might have it on Xbox.
You may have it
It's
on Xbox.
4 that is only on the PlayStation 4.
PlayStation 3.
I mean, PlayStation 3.
Yeah. It's a cell processor, baby. So yeah, that looks pretty good. Borderlands 4 got a release date on September 23rd, 2025. I think I want to play this. What about you, Will?
Karen and I recently tried playing Borderlands 3, and that's when I shockingly found out like the whole complete edition of Borderlands 3 was like $150 on the Xbox. I'm like, who would
Dear
pay this
Lord.
much money? And it just really wasn't fun anymore. I don't know. We weren't having a good time. And part of me is like, because I've played that intro a couple times trying to get into it, and the other half of me is like, oh, maybe we should check out like a Tiny Tina's or something. See how
It's funny you say that
is.
because Borderlands 3 got good reviews. Like people weren't blown away by it, but by all accounts, Borderlands fans were happy with Borderlands 3.
I
my
played
only
Borderlands
experience-
3. I just recently trying to play it again. It's just
play it
like,
again.
It's very old and like it's just
It's
outdated.
not-
It's so outdated.
Isn't it like 6 or 7 years old?
I don't know. That humor
not that old.
That humor fell off fast.
Well, yeah, always did. I think for me the thing is, I played a couple hours of Borderlands 1 when it came out with friends. I never really touched any of the others. I didn't like the humor of Borderlands 1, but I did like the gameplay. And so I've always thought about going back to a Borderlands, and this showed really well. Like the combat looked really good, and also they've revealed some of the writers, and they actually have what looks like a lot of good writers on this one, like funny writers, not just Anthony Birch. So I don't know. We'll have to see how this one goes. We've also got Onimusha, Way of the Sword new trailer. A single player action game, Tides of Annihilation, which takes place in London. And I know that because everybody has a really exaggerated London accent. Hey, your favorite game is getting remastered, Days Gone remastered. I know people keep saying who's been asking for this. And I was like, my buddy Will, he can't stop asking for Days Gone remastered.
What is this bit? I've never. When did I ever ask for a Days Gone remastered?
You never have, and that's the joke. Is nobody has ever asked
okay.
for Days Gone remastered. Like there's so many better games, like Bloodborne, for Christ's sake, or even just putting like Demon Souls on the PC. So there's just so much. It's wild to see this game that was very tepid reaction at launch, has done nothing to re-earn anything, and they're just going to put it on the PS5. It really does feel like PlayStation has definitely been better than Xbox this generation, but it feels like they are starting to flounder a little bit, and this is going to be one of their weakest years, for sure. First party years, I would say. They also just spent a good solid 60 seconds of this just saying the games that are coming to PlayStation Plus in February of 2025, which I think they had already announced or something, but it wasn't anything huge. They were just like, and now in February, coming to PlayStation Plus, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. And it was like, okay. We did get a look at Mind's Eye, which is Leslie Benz's new game. Did you get a chance to see this?
No, I did not. Although
you know what, you sound like a real fucking tablet gamer. you know, not even paying attention to the news. You should watch this trailer though, because Leslie Benz, if you remember, was big on Rockstar, helped them get all the way through GTA 5 and then left after a disagreement. He's the former lead GTA series developer, and he released a game that looks it looks like GTA in a way, like GTA 5 in terms of like look and characters and things, but it's got an interesting story about like soldiers with implants, and they start freaking out because they think the implants are controlling them. So it kind of goes into this conspiracy, but you're also driving around a city. They said it takes place in a city called Red Rock, where, quote, AI, robotics, and neural implants have changed society for both the good and the bad. It didn't make it clear if it's like an open world in that city or if you're just doing linear missions in that city, but it could be interesting. I think Leslie Benz has definitely earned enough respect in the industry that, you know, somebody who has made GTA super successful coming out with a game, I'll give it a shot for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, looks neat. I remember when they did that initial thing. Was it Summer Games Fest that they did that like teaser trailer for it?
I don't know if that was the teaser trailer for this or for the other thing where they were like, we're gonna make a metaverse, like a Roblox type platform.
Yeah, maybe
they've done a couple things. Yeah,
I was gonna say we rocketed past Days Gone remastered, honestly, for a good reason. But I was gonna say Days Gone in my mind is on that list of games that I'm like, I should check that out at some point, just because Matt Rory loves that game. And it's just like that little, there were always like at Giant Bomb, there were always like the weird games he was super into. And you're just like, okay, I'll check that out. So now that it's getting remastered, I'm like, okay, now I've gotten rid of the original Days Gone, and now I'll just check out Days Gone remastered at some point in the next 70 years.
Yes, you put another 5 years on the timer.
Like if I crash on a desert island with it, I'll be happy it's there because I can play it because I heard it's pretty good and Matt Rory likes it. But until then, okay, sure.
Yeah. From all I've heard, it is a solid 6 out of 10, and there is nothing unique or exciting or interesting about it. So it's not a 8 out of 10 at times, 4 out of 10 at times. It's just a solid 6 all the way through, and that just feels like
it's that weird. It's the weird game your cousin owned, and you're just like, oh, okay, like I guess we're playing some Days Gone for a little bit. You got it for Christmas.
Yeah. Now, Will, I know you're a roguelite sicko. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about Warriors Abyss, which is kind of I believe it's like a Dynasty Warriors from that studio, from Koei Tecmo, but it's a roguelite, and it's also like a little bit more zoomed out and isometric in a way. So to me, honestly, it almost looked like a Hades mixed with Warriors Abyss, where as you're going through your run, you're getting new characters and new power-ups and upgrades. It honestly looked kind of cool, and it's out today on PS5 and PS4. I'm curious what the reviews say.
That's Dynasty.
Yeah, because I was thinking about playing the new Dynasty Warriors, but people were saying it's okay, it's more the same. But this looks like Dynasty Warriors Combat, but actually in a new direction here.
It kind of almost reminds me of Vampire Survivors. Like, yeah. Not
like
quite
crazy hordes.
Yeah, like crazy hordes of things and doing stuff. Like it looks like that Halls of Torment and Vampire Survivors had a baby, and they did this.
Yeah. There is a game on this list that I am actually pretty excited for, which is Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. This is the sequel to Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing Transformed, which I hold in my heart as one of the best kart racing games. This looks like more of the same, more crazy kart racing action. I'm excited to play this. They didn't give us a release date. I'm hopefully it's this year. This comes out by Extra Life. We're gonna play this for Extra Life because this.
Hell yeah.
The last one was a solid kart racer, and it was doing enough different from Mario Kart. So like, hell yeah, this will be fun to play. We got some DLC announcements for Stellar Blade, Lies of P. WWE 2K25, talking about the island. We've also got Paul Whelan there. Shout outs to Paul Whelan of ECW fame. We've got some Shinobi Art of Vengeance.
What was that? Wait, what just happened?
Look, maybe I watched some wrestling documentaries, and now I'm like fascinated by wrestling. Shout out to The
Disgusting.
Fall of ECW,
No,
which is
no
a
shout outs to
fantastic
that.
documentary.
No, boo.
You gotta watch it. It's so good. It's a great
Boo.
documentary. It's on Peacock.
No shout outs.
There was a game called Metal Eden. Have you heard of Metal Eden?
Metal, like Medal of Honor?
No, metal like metallurgy.
Like things that can melt steel beams? I mean, it can be melted by jet fuel.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Don't watch this now. Watch this later, because I started watching this and I was like, I know this isn't Death Stranding 2, but why does it look so much like Death Stranding? And at the end of it, I was like, this really does have like the same look and weirdness and craziness of like a really like well done Death Stranding like, but done by somebody else. And I'm fascinated just because of that. So you should definitely check out this trailer if you haven't. Not right now. It's going to take a while.
I was going to ask you, was there any Death Stranding 2 in this thing?
There was not.
So
a lot of people wanted it, but there was not.
I inadvertently realized the other day, I have literally seen nothing about Death Stranding 2.
That's right.
I was away for the first trailer.
For the reveal.
And then some other trailer I missed. And this whole time I've seen it and stuff, and I'm like, I'm just not that interested in it yet to watch anything. And I'm like, now it's become a little game. You shouldn't watch it. Where I'm like, okay, if maybe I could get to this game without knowing anything about it. I'm not going to do the thing where like someone's talking about it and I'm like yelling at them, but I'm like, okay, I've accidentally done it this far. Let's see if I can purposefully do it the rest of the way. Anyways, continue.
We've also got Lost Soul Aside, which if you're curious is when I took a little stretching break and stopped watching because this looks generic as fuck.
This looks like some of it looks like Destiny. Some of it looks like Destiny. That was weird. There's some of those worlds that just look like they were pulled straight out of Destiny.
One of these games is from a Chinese studio, and I forget which one. It's like PlayStation funding a Chinese studio. Not that they own them, but it's like a PlayStation China partnership. Monster Hunter Wilds announced their first big update, even though the game's not out yet. Split Fiction got a new story trailer. Supermassive Games Directive 8020 will come out on October 2nd, 2025. I know you're going to play that because you're a little sicko.
Oh, this game is so good.
Nothing against this game, because this is not a this game problem. This is just an industry-wide problem. But we had zombies for a while, and they were played out, and then we just kept doing zombie shit for some reason. Why? The new version of that is like derelict / abandoned / trapped spaceship, space station, space outpost, and we got to stop doing it. There's too fucking much of it. So that's what this is. I'm sure they'll do fine, but that's still just a setting I'm tired of. I'm done with.
It's probably my favorite setting, other than like just straight hard sci-fi, is like the derelict sci-fi setting. And even I agree there's too much of it. I want to get it back to the point where like people, only the like niche cool ones are like when Dead Space came out.
Yes.
You're like, fuck, no one does this anymore. So, and that's kind of the way zombie games are starting to get. It's like, oh, no one really makes zombie games anymore. And nobody makes freaker games other than Days Gone, which is getting remastered. But this is I 100% agree with you. It has been a crutch for the past couple of years. And I was like, when I saw this, I was like, okay, it's like they haven't done it before, so at least there's that, but it is very played out.
We also got this really weird pixel junk game called Dreams of Another, which just looks very weird, but honestly kind of excited about it. It looks awesome. Darwin's Paradox, which is about an octopus that has to kind of sneak around. It looks a lot like Alone. What's the game that came out a couple of years ago? It's an indie. It's a side scroller. It's pretty much black and white, and you're like a little dude running around hiding from people.
Limbo?
Inside. Yeah, Inside. This looks exactly like Inside, but it's an octopus and it has like humor to it. But the gameplay looks identical to Inside, which is pretty cool. I like that format. So yeah, that's Darwin's Paradox. There's like a really creepy looking stop motion first person shooter action adventure game called The Midnight Walk. That should be Spooky Pixel. That comes out on May 8th, 2025. We got Like a Dragon. Oh, I'm sorry. Hell is Us. I'm sorry. Hell is Us is the one that looks like Death Stranding 2. Maybe.
Whoa, this looks awesome.
Yeah, I think that's the one that looks like. Hey, guess what? There's actually a really cool looking Digimon Storytime Stranger game coming out. It wasn't Digimon at first, and then they were like, by the way, this badass looking game is Digimon, and it's a JRPG where players will switch between both the human world and the digital world. It actually looks really good. I'm kind of excited for that one. Five Nights at Freddy's, that'll be out hopefully in time for Spooky Pixel. That's the state of play. Overall, I would say pretty solid. Solid B. They didn't really have any bangers or super surprises, but they brought a lot of good stuff. And that's awesome to see.
Oh, is that it on the PlayStation State of Play?
That's it on the State of Play.
Okay. I'm bringing back, sorry, we're going back. It's just the two of us. Ian, we're going all the way back. Borderlands 3. We were talking about Borderlands 3. I said it felt outdated and all that sort of stuff. I apologize. Karen and I were playing Borderlands 2. I Googled it.
Yeah, I
have not played Borderlands 3. It was because the Borderlands 3 was like $150 that we decided to play Borderlands 2, which I owned.
Yeah.
Anyways, I literally just now realized that. So, continue with the news.
Yeah, I believe you put this on here. There's a new Zelda-like co-op RPG, Cloudheim, from former EA and BioWare vets.
I did put this on here. I thought this... Oh, God, there's the audio. I put this on here. I thought it looked really cool. It's kind of the style of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. It reminded me of, like... It almost kind of looked like Enshrouded, but a different stylized version of that, and then like it had all this crazy building houses and stuff towards the end. So this is a new game, Cloudheim, from the BioWare vets, and I thought it looked super fun.
Yeah, looks good. That's it for games news. We do have two quick hits. First off, just a sad point here. Crytek did have some layoffs this week. Unfortunately, they've had to lay off, quote, an estimated 15% of our around 400 employees. That's probably about 60 people, affecting development teams and shared services. They also mentioned that they put the development of the next Crysis game on hold in Q3 of 2024, and they're trying to focus on Hunt Showdown 1896. So, they're still optimistic about the future of Hunt Showdown 1896, but it feels like, maybe between that and their CryEngine game, they're not quite able to sustain their current studio size. It's always unfortunate to see that.
Yeah. I feel like Hunt Showdown and Hunt Showdown 1896 are those like Dead by Daylight level games where they like have a large following, but you don't like hear about them very often. Like they had that whole collab with
really good
Post Malone and everything. And you're just like, what? It's like it's like the Hoyoverse to me as well. It's like obviously it's not that big, but it's just like, what? It's like, and you saying tablet gaming, same thing. Like it's just like people who aren't gamers, but they might be really into the Hunt Showdown and playing that all the time. You're just like, oh, it's so weird to think about.
Yeah. And then last piece of news here. This came out today. We do have the announcement of a Dungeons and Dragons live action series, The Forgotten Realms, which is in the works at Netflix, from Sean Levy, who did Stranger Things, Deadpool and Wolverine. Also writer showrunner Drew Carvalho, We Crashed, and Hasbro Entertainment, of course, is involved. So this will take place in their famous Neverwinter Realms setting. It will be live action. It will be a TV series. All these streaming series we've been getting lately, the quality is so all over the place that I don't know what this is going to be like. genuinely no idea.
Yeah,
Could be great, could be terrible.
I really enjoyed the Dungeons and Dragons movie. I didn't like it's not a cinematic masterpiece, but it's a very enjoyable film. I rewatched it a couple months ago. I still really enjoy it. I almost wish they would just make a second one of those instead of a live action TV show, because I can already see the live action TV show having those great vibes, but just having terrible sets and bad CGI and I don't know. I'm thinking of like the budget Sci-Fi Channel TV show version of the Dungeons and Dragons movie, where like the charm of that really helped. So I don't know, but it's better than getting nothing, I guess. We'll see what it's like.
I think my concern is Dungeons and Dragons for me has no lore, right? It is a framework and barely even a setting. It's just like medieval, right? It's a tool set. But anytime I see something that's like, oh, we're going to have like established characters. Oh, we're going to bring back the characters from the TV show. Oh, we're going to do like Dark Alliance characters. And it's like, who gives a fuck? Like, I don't care how good they are as characters. Like I don't need you to treat this like established lore that you need to build on or remake in some way. I need you to, like, the Dungeons and Dragons movie. It did have references to lore-based locations, but it felt like a good way for them to play within the framework of Dungeons and Dragons. And my concern is that this TV show will not do that. That it will try and either reuse or establish its own type of story lore, and it's like that's taking away the fun of it, you know. So, Tall Order. This is going to be tough for them. But they don't seem like they're bad at their job, so it's like I don't know what's gonna happen here. You know?
Dungeons and Dragons lore is some of the most detailed and also ignored lore in all of nerddom. Like, people pick specific things that they really want to talk about or like use in that lore, but it's not like every campaign is like, oh, this is the history. Like, everyone makes up their own stuff. Everyone adds things in, so. It's interesting, but like you said, just it would be weird that like, here's Drizzt, and everyone's like, wow. It's like, okay,
wow.
Like,
it's like who fucking knows him? Yeah, like I want them. I like exactly like you said. I want the depth and the attention to detail and the loving craftsmanship of whatever lore they decide to use for this TV show. I don't need them to adapt existing lore or feel like they need to shoehorn that in any way.
Yeah, agreed. That's it for the news?
That's it. That's it for the nudes.
Damn, that's it for the nudes. Folks, that is it for the nudes, and that is it for the show. Man, only an hour and 13 minutes in. Folks, let me hit the button. Make sure everything's unmuted. Folks, that's the show. I've been your host, Will Crosby. This has been Ian Gibson. We will be back on Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Ian will be playing Civilization 7, where he will take 7 civilizations and rank them from favorite civilization to least favorite and only racist stereotypes. So look forward to that. I'm looking forward to playing some Avowed next week when it comes out on the 18th. I heard that is doing pretty rockin'. Subpixelfilms.com is where you can see a lot of our content. You can go over to Twitch, you can go over to Twitter, you can go over to Blue Sky. Check us out there. That's about it. Anything else, Ian, that I'm forgetting?
Nope. I believe that's it.
That's it. We've got 12 seconds left in this song, so I'm just going to keep talking until those 12 seconds are over. Make sure to check out all of our content. I love each and every one of you. I hope you have a wonderful night. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.